Everyone, welcome. I'm Michelle, and I'm so excited to be a part of Friday Night Fights this week. This is the Bonfire Presents stream, and we are really excited to kick off custom lobbies in a little bit. Before we do that, though, we have a really exciting moment to share. So, Rob, you want to jump in and take it away?
Yeah, for sure. Hi, everyone. I'm Rob Pardoga. I don't know how many people actually know me or know my history, but some people may know me from the old days when I was actually a game designer and game developer at Blizzard. I was the lead designer back on StarCraft, Brood War, and Warcraft 3 and World of Warcraft. So I have a long history in dev. Here at Bonfire, though, I'm not the one that really makes the game, that's the team, but I'm the one that tries to lead the team the best I can and support the team.
I'm so excited to have you on here. I feel like I haven't gotten to see you much this week. It's been so busy. But I actually want to go back in time a little bit, back to February, Steam Next Fest 2026. Tell me a little bit about what that was like on your side.
All the way long ago in
Yes.
February.
What is
Feels
time,
like
Rob?
6 months ago now, but Next Fest for us was like really exciting going into it because it's really the first time we're going to open up the game and anyone can play it. As we were going through it, we started getting a lot of feedback, and feedback's always awesome when you get it. We were surprised about how far off we were, especially like with some of the things like the game client performance and hit clarity and combat feel, and new player experience, even though we know we're far away from that, but we're even farther than we thought we were. So I think it really hit us, and we had to come to terms with we're not quite where we wanted to be.
Yeah, I remember that. It was wild because that week was huge. And the week immediately following, we actually had a gathering week as a studio. We all came together. Tell me a little bit about what that was like for you, too. I mean, I know how it was for me. I loved seeing everybody. But how was it on your side?
Yeah, like the gathering week, I think it was one of those weeks where we were hoping come into it and be like, yeah, really jazzed. Now we just accelerate to launch. And I think, we had to really come to terms with where we really were and look kind of at ourselves and at the game, and, really big learnings. One was, we can't go 5 months between when we first were play testing the game widely with the community, which is the reveal play tests. And then we went 5 months in the dark before, we really played again. And, we play the game every day, but we don't always play like players. It's like we kind of know the game really well. We play a little bit nicer with one another. We all have really good rigs. So, I think what we really had to come to terms with, like a lot of this stuff would have come up and we would have, been able to knock some of it off if we'd been playing with players the whole time. So that was one. I think the other big learning we had is I think we've been approaching this sometimes a little bit too much like we're a big company and we're AAA. And, if I go back to my roots, I'm like, we really just need to be building this with the community the whole way along. So those are like two of the big learnings. And then we decided, we really got to pivot. And we've been trying to figure that ever since. But the first thing we did was just kind of spin up this Friday Night Fights idea. It was like a little bit playing fast and loose because we didn't want to make the same mistake. We didn't want to go, okay, let's go back to the drawing board. Let's go dark. And then we'll come back with a plan. We went, you know what? Screw that. We're just going to find a way to keep the play test up while we also figure out our pivot and our plan.
I feel like Friday Night Fights has, I'll speak for myself, been super fun, not only to come in and play, but to see the community really jump in and have a blast. What's the next iteration of Friday Night Fights looking like?
We're finally kind of getting to a place where we can have a little more of a vision on where we're going next, because obviously what we're doing now is not it. Like the intent is not to just be throwing these little spaghetti at the wall, event modes each week at all of you. We mainly just been doing that to keep you engaged and to, just make sure based on our population, there is a way to play the game each week with us. But what we're going to do next is we're going to get a little more intentional about how to grow in a different way. I've been calling it internally, like we're creating like an underground fight club. And what that means is kind of 3 parts. Starting next week, we're going to add another night of the week for people to play. And we're calling it like community night. And what community night is a more friendly way to play Archeron. So kind of the intent we want is we want it to be a place where you can bring in newer players And, we'll be doing a lot of this dev engagement stuff there in LFG. And we really want, especially our really engaged players that are interested, to kind of be there with us, be onboarding new people, bringing in their friends, kind of going into the different areas of Archeron that you can teach players. But it's not just for learning. We also want it to kind of just be the play with friends vibe sort of night, where
Totally.
you can play in this night. It's almost more like how we do our morning play tests. We're still trying to play to win. It's just we're not necessarily playing to win at all costs, where maybe we're going to abuse every bug just to try to get the win. Like, it's not that sort of behavior.
Totally. Yeah. It feels like that community night is sort of like the on-ramp into like what Archeron is and the community. It's like your taste of it. But others have a taste for blood, Rob. Some people love the spiciness. Like what are we going to do for those folks?
So that's actually what Friday nights are going to become now. So
Oh, I see.
I'm calling that like league night. And by league night, I don't mean League of Legends night. I just mean it's more like bowling league night is how I think about it. You're kind of bringing your crew. You're really going to see how well you do compared to other teams or other individuals. It's more that. I know that bowling leagues may not be the right analogy for this group, but I'm old, so hopefully you can forgive me.
I think that's great.
So to like kind of paint more of a picture on it. So that night we're really going to lean far more for the competitive player and the competitive aspect for Archeron. So at first, I think we'll keep on like doing some of these experimental leaderboards, but hopefully not just do solo queue ones. A lot of the solo queue stuff we're doing right now, which I know not everyone wants to just solo queue, but that's just again been a practical thing because we kind of had to do the trade-off of, well, do we disallow people from making the high skill murder ball teams, or do we just kind of incentivize people to not do that right now? But as we kind of really build out the competitive league night community, we'll do different types of leaderboards. We're probably going to do some fun stuff, like maybe we'll do a tournament qualifier one of the nights, and the next week the qualifiers play in a stream tournament. We want to try experimental ideas. And then once the population's big enough where we can really now be running that 45 player Archeron mode again, we'll start turning on ranked mode, because we already have ranked mode here. It's just, it doesn't really make sense to turn on right now with kind of the experimental event night stuff, but then we can start doing that. And this is actually why it's more called league night, because like once you get into the ranking system, you kind of get ranked within these different leagues. And then, we can really start testing that with the community and building that all with you.
How does all of that tie into like the broader picture of Archeron coming to players all over the world and us actually having this game live? Anything about that you can share or want to tease out a little bit more?
One of the things that's actually been kind of cool, even about doing these little events, it allows us to, where we can, start folding that into the custom game, system, which again gives like the community more ways to be able to play on your own too. And I think there's a couple places where that can be really cool. It's again, you could like be with a gaming club and bring in new players and, kind of arrange your own setup. And I also think it'll be something, if people want to arrange tournaments, custom game feature really helps with that too. So that's like the way you can play throughout the week. And then what we really want to now start doing once we get all of this stood up is we can start inviting new players again. Because we really haven't been trying to do that much. I mean, new players sometimes come in every week, but now what we can do is be more intentional again. We can start sending out invites to folks, let them know about how all this works, especially invite them to be showing up on, community night, with a lot of friendly onboarding. And then we just want to grow grassroots organically with the community. It's kind of week after week, we want to grow. We want to then, as we grow this way, we can just kind of increase uptime along the way. I think we made a little bit of a mistake with just framing things as, oh, we're going to jump into this closed beta and then just open the doors. I think what we're doing instead is looking at this now as our closed beta. It's just, we should have done this in the first place, where we're just going to build with kind of a couple nights a week, and then maybe we'll grow to a couple more nights a week. And then maybe we're starting to play the whole weekend. And then as we grow, we can get all the way to, completely 24/7 uptime. And we're hoping to do that by the end of the summer.
The custom games have been so much fun just to get familiarity with things and get things up, and having that available all the time has just been so fun. So I'm excited for the more coordinated play, but the fact we have that available for folks all the time, selfishly, I've really liked it. Anything you want to share or say to the community before we wrap up and let you get to it?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing I just want to say is like, especially everyone that's here right now that's been with us the whole way and is super engaged, like, thank you so much. It's so meaningful to us and the entire Bonfire team. And we really want you to keep on just giving your honest feedback. It's like so helpful. Even though we can't always do everything that you're asking all the time, we're always talking about it. We're listening. We're going to continue to try to get way more engaged, so that we're listening and we're talking to you all the time. So that's really huge. And what I've been telling everyone inside of Bonfire is at this point, the game's no longer really ours. The game is yours as much as it is ours. And I really want us to have the ethos of we own this game and this game community together. And so much of what we want to be doing is how to help everyone here continue to love this game, bring it to their friends, bring it to their communities, and engage with all of you. So that's where we want to go. And, again, just thank you so much, and can't wait for us to go to the next phase.